I wake up to the same feeling every morning. It's a pit in my stomach, a heavy weight that lingers even before I open my eyes. The day hasn't even started, but I already know what's coming: more bills, more expenses, more decisions that are just slightly too expensive to be comfortable, but not quite expensive enough to ignore. It's a balancing act, one that's been wearing me down for months now. I'm 26. I graduated college 4 years ago, like so many others, thinking I'd have it all figured out by now. A career. A place of my own. A few adventures in between. Instead, I wake up to a life where I'm just trying to make it to the next paycheck without falling behind, and the more I push, the further behind I seem to get. I work full-time as a marketing assistant for a small company. It's not glamorous, but I'm lucky to have the job. I remind myself of that constantly, especially when I look at the job listings and see the salaries that seem almost laughable. At least I'm employed. But the reality is that my paycheck never quite stretches far enough. I've stopped thinking about what I want and only think about what I need: rent, utilities, groceries, gas. And then there are the other things, the things that I pretend aren't looming in the background, just waiting to pounce: student loans, credit card debt, car maintenance, health insurance. It feels like a never-ending list, and it's only growing. I used to have dreams. There was a time when I thought maybe I could go back to school for a master's degree or take a few months to travel. But now, the idea of spending money without knowing how it will be replenished is terrifying. Every decision feels like a gamble. A new phone? I can't afford that. But can I afford the late fees if I don't pay my credit card bill on time? I don't think so. I go through my day like this, constantly making trade-offs. Do I buy the cheaper groceries, or do I get the healthier options and risk not having enough left for gas? Should I keep eating rice and beans for the next week, or do I splurge a little and get a nice salad, pretending I don't know how much it's going to hurt my budget? And then there's the emotional toll. It's like walking on a tightrope, always waiting for the moment when something, anything, might tip me off balance. The hardest part is the constant feeling of being stuck. I can't move forward. I'm not even moving sideways. I'm standing still in a place I don't want to be, but I can't seem to escape. There's no room for mistakes, and if I slip up, I feel the weight of it for weeks, sometimes months. The fear of not making rent 1 month, of not being able to pay the gas bill. The dread of opening the mail, knowing it's probably another notice about a missed payment or a late fee. I've tried everything. I've cut back on things that used to bring me joy: cooking dinner at home more, canceling subscriptions, avoiding going out with friends unless it's absolutely free. I track every expense with obsessive precision, but it doesn't matter. The numbers never seem to add up. Every time I get close to making some headway, there's an unexpected expense: a flat tire, a medical bill, an emergency repair that I can't put off. And I'm not alone. I talk to friends, and they're in the same boat. We compare salaries, what we're able to save, how many times we've had to borrow money just to cover basics. It's comforting in a way, to know I'm not the only one struggling. But at the same time, it's discouraging. Everyone's doing the best they can, and yet the world keeps making it harder. I think a lot about the future. I used to dream about getting a house, one day, a place that's mine. Maybe a dog. Maybe I'd travel, visit places I've always wanted to see, experience the world in a way that isn't confined to the same 4 walls of my tiny apartment. But now, I'm not even sure what the future looks like. Will I ever be able to afford a house? Will I be working this same job forever, just to scrape by? There are days when it feels like I'm just surviving, not living. I don't think I've had a true break in a while, one where I feel like I'm not constantly battling the next problem. The weight of it all makes everything feel harder, even the little things. I find myself getting frustrated more easily, snapping at people I love, overthinking every purchase, wondering if I'm really doing everything I can or if I'm just stuck. But there are moments when I find a way to cope. Sometimes, it's small things: taking a walk to clear my head, venting to a friend who gets it, binge watching a show that lets me forget for a while. Other times, it's about trying to reframe the situation. I tell myself I'm not stuck, I'm just in a phase, and it won't last forever. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can with what I have. That's something, right? I try to remind myself that it's okay not to have it all figured out. I tell myself that if I keep moving forward, even if it's only a little bit at a time, there's hope. Maybe I won't have the kind of life I imagined when I was younger, but maybe I'll build something else that's just as good, even if it's different. The problem is, it's hard to hold on to that hope when every new challenge feels like a punch to the gut. One of the hardest things is watching others move ahead while I stay stuck. I have friends who are buying homes, going on vacations, making career moves that seem effortless. It's easy to feel like I'm doing something wrong. But then I remember, this is the world we live in now. The cost of living keeps going up while wages barely keep pace. The dream of financial freedom, the one that everyone talks about, feels more like a fantasy every day. I try not to let it consume me. I really do. But sometimes, when I'm lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, it feels impossible to ignore. I wonder when it will get better. Will it? Or will I always feel this pressure, this constant sense of being behind? I guess, at the end of the day, all I can do is keep going. Keep working, keep adjusting, keep hoping that someday, somehow, I'll find a way to break free from this cycle. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see that it was all worth it. But for now, I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow. That's all I can do. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. The first thing I notice every morning is the weight in my chest. It's not something I can ignore, even though I try to. It doesn't take long for the thoughts to flood in, the ones about bills, rent, student loans, and the seemingly endless cycle of money that doesn't quite add up. I wake up before my alarm most days, as if I already know what's coming. A quick glance at my bank account only confirms what I already feel: there's not enough. It's been like this for months now, maybe longer, but it's different today. It feels heavier today. The numbers are lower than usual, and the balance is starting to show signs of creeping into dangerous territory. I've always been a planner. In my head, I like to imagine a life where everything is organized and sorted, where I'm in control. I thought by now I would have my career path figured out, a steady job with benefits, a sense of stability. I thought I would be able to take care of myself. But instead, I feel like I'm constantly scrambling, barely keeping my head above water. Every decision is another math equation. Should I pay this bill today or wait until next week? Should I put gas in my car or buy groceries? Every time I swipe my debit card, I hold my breath, as if I'm afraid it's all going to come crashing down. Some people tell me it gets easier. They say that once I've been working for a few years, I'll get a raise, I'll move up in my job, things will level out. But I don't feel like I'm moving up. I feel stuck. Like the harder I work, the further I fall behind. It's this impossible cycle where my expenses grow faster than my income. Rent goes up. Food prices go up. Healthcare costs go up. But my paycheck? It stays the same. Every month, I do the same mental math, trying to make it all work. But the numbers never add up, and there's always something that gets left behind. I keep telling myself that I'll catch up. One day, I'll have enough. One day, I won't have to worry about paying for gas or whether or not I can afford the tiny treat I'm craving. One day, I'll have savings, a little cushion. But I'm not sure that day will come. Sometimes, it feels like a dream that's so far out of reach it's almost laughable. When I think about my future, all I can see is a series of hurdles, bills, deadlines, and a constant struggle to stay afloat. And that's what gets to me the most, the sense of being trapped. It's the feeling of never quite getting ahead. There's always something, always a bill that comes up or a fee I didn't expect. It feels like I'm working hard just to break even. I have dreams, sure. I used to dream big, trips to places I've never seen, a nice apartment I can call my own, even just the freedom to make decisions without checking my bank balance first. But those dreams feel like they belong to someone else now. The cost of living keeps rising, and I feel like I'm falling further and further behind. The hardest part is realizing how much I've had to let go of. I've had to put so many things on hold, plans I used to have, goals I used to strive for. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a master's degree, but the thought of taking on more debt while I'm already drowning in student loans feels impossible. I used to dream about traveling, seeing the world, but now it's a luxury I can't even entertain. Even the small things, going out to eat with friends or buying a new pair of shoes, seem like distant dreams. It's a constant balancing act, and I feel like I'm always losing my footing. Sometimes I try to escape into daydreams, imagining a different life where I don't have to worry about every penny. But those daydreams quickly turn into guilt. I don't feel like I'm allowed to dream anymore. There's no room for aspirations when you're just trying to get by. I've even stopped allowing myself the luxury of thinking beyond the next month or two. My plans for the future? They feel like a far-off idea, like something other people get to have, but not me. I cope in small ways. I've cut back on almost everything, subscriptions I don't use, online shopping I don't need, social events I can't afford. I've learned to say no more often, but it doesn't feel good. Sometimes, I just want to do something spontaneous, to treat myself to a meal out with friends, but I know I can't. Even the smallest pleasures come with guilt attached. Instead, I focus on surviving, on getting through today, and somehow, maybe, I'll have enough to survive tomorrow. The weight of it all seeps into my emotional well-being, too. I've always been a little anxious, but it's worse now. I feel it in the pit of my stomach every time I check my account balance or when I get a new bill in the mail. There's this constant, gnawing fear that things won't get better, that I'm stuck in a cycle that will never end. And then there's the shame, too. People look at me and see someone who is doing okay, someone who is working hard, but they don't know the real story. They don't know how much I'm struggling to make ends meet, how much I wish I could just breathe without the weight of financial pressure hanging over me. I've learned to fake it, to smile and nod when people ask how I'm doing, but inside, I'm drowning. The hardest part is the fear of the future. I can't see a way out of this. I can't see how things will get better. All I can do is keep going, keep working, keep scraping by. It's exhausting. But it's all I can do. I just want to be free. Free from the constant worry, free from the fear that I'll never catch up. I want to believe that someday I'll have a little bit of peace, a little bit of breathing room, that I won't always be trapped in this cycle. But right now, it feels impossible. I know I'm not alone in this. I know there are others who are struggling just like I am. But sometimes it feels so isolating, like no one really understands what it's like to live in this constant state of financial pressure. Maybe I'll get through this. Maybe one day, things will change. But for now, I just have to keep moving, even if it feels like I'm walking in circles. I wake up in the dark, the kind of early morning that feels more like an extension of night than the beginning of a new day. The alarm is obnoxiously loud, but I'm used to it now. I've been up at this hour for weeks, if not months. It feels like I've forgotten what it's like to sleep in, to feel well rested. I drag myself out of bed, my legs heavy, my thoughts foggy. Another day. Another stretch of hours where I will fight to stay afloat. I take a quick glance at my phone. A few new notifications, none of them good. A text from my mom asking how I'm doing. A reminder from the bank that my credit card bill is due soon. And a news alert about rising rent prices in the city. It's a punch to the gut. Every day, there's something new to stress about, something to remind me that I am not in control. The worst part? I don't know how I got here. Or maybe I do. I think back to the time when I thought adulthood meant freedom. I thought it meant independence, and that once I figured out how to pay rent and handle my bills, the rest would fall into place. But it hasn't worked out that way. I'm not independent. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, trying to avoid the sinking feeling of financial panic that haunts me every time I check my bank account. I work hard. I work long hours. But somehow, it never feels like enough. I make a cup of coffee, my daily ritual. It's the only moment I get to myself, but even then, I can't truly relax. I'm already thinking about the bills I haven't paid yet. The bills I'll need to postpone to make room for the ones that have immediate deadlines. There's no space to breathe. I should have canceled the subscription service months ago, but it felt like one small luxury I could afford. Now I'm paying for it, literally. As I get ready for work, I try not to think too hard about the reality of my situation. I put on my uniform, a uniform that fits just a little too tightly these days because, honestly, I don't have the time or energy to go to the gym. I used to care about my appearance more, but there's no room for vanity when survival is at the forefront of your mind. The only thing I care about these days is getting to work, finishing my shift, and hoping I make it through another week without a crisis. Work is the same as it's always been, tiring, thankless, and underpaid. I'm grateful for the job, don't get me wrong. It's just that, no matter how hard I work, I'm not getting anywhere. Every day is about managing just enough to make ends meet. But it's exhausting. There's nothing left after rent, utilities, groceries, and student loan payments. If I'm lucky, I'll have a couple of bucks to spare for the weekend, but it's never enough for anything fun. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something I wanted, something just for me. It always feels like I'm making excuses for why I can't have anything nice. I'll say, next month will be better, but it never is. I know I'm not alone in this. I know there are so many of us out there, drowning in the same overwhelming sea of financial stress. The cost of living keeps rising, but my wages haven't budged. It feels like I'm stuck in a system where the rich get richer, and people like me are left just trying to keep our heads above water. Every new expense feels like it's pulling me further under. It's hard not to feel resentful. Hard not to wonder why everything seems to be getting more expensive while my paycheck stays stagnant. I think about how, a few years ago, I had dreams, real dreams. I wanted to travel. I wanted to take a few months off to write. I wanted to buy a house, maybe even start a family someday. But all those things seem so far out of reach now. They're not even on my radar anymore. I can barely get through a week without feeling like I'm falling behind. I can't imagine being in a position where I can save up for a vacation or buy a car without feeling guilty. Some days, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I tell myself that I'm doing the best I can, that I'm just biding my time until things get better. But there's a sinking feeling in my stomach that maybe things aren't going to get better. Maybe this is just how it's going to be for the rest of my life. The fear of being stuck in a cycle where expenses always grow faster than income is overwhelming. And it's not like I'm being lazy or irresponsible. I work hard. I'm trying. But no matter what I do, it's never enough. I tell myself to keep pushing. Keep grinding. Keep going because what's the alternative? Giving up isn't an option. It can't be. So, I find ways to cope. I try to find little joys in the mundane moments, a good cup of coffee, a quiet walk after work, the few hours on the weekend where I can forget about money and pretend that everything is okay. But it's hard. It's hard to feel like you're doing enough when you're constantly fighting just to survive. There are days when I let myself feel the weight of it all. I'll sit on the couch, scrolling through social media, seeing friends go on trips, buy new clothes, start new projects, and I feel this pang of jealousy. They're living a life I can't afford. And I don't blame them for it. I just wish I could catch up, but it feels like the harder I try, the further I fall behind. And then there are nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'll make it through the next month. How I'll pay the bills, buy groceries, and still have enough to get by. I think about how I used to dream about my future. I thought I'd be somewhere by now. I thought I'd have some measure of success or at least some stability, but it feels like all my dreams have been put on hold, maybe forever. I used to think about buying a house, saving for a comfortable retirement, starting a business. But now, it feels like the most I can hope for is just getting through the next week without everything collapsing. The hardest part is not knowing when or if it will get better. I try to hold on to the hope that someday things will change, that the pressure will ease. But there's a part of me that fears it won't. There's a part of me that wonders if this is just what life is now, struggling, hustling, surviving. But I can't give up. I can't let it consume me. So, I keep going, even when it feels like I'm running on fumes. I don't have any other choice. I tell myself that someday, I'll look back on this and be proud of how far I've come. But right now, it's just day by day. One step in front of the other. Because that's all I can do. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, but it feels like I've been awake for hours already. There's a heaviness in my chest, like a weight that I can never fully lift. It's only 7 a.m., but my mind is already spinning with everything I need to do, every bill I need to pay, every decision I have to make, and I haven't even gotten out of bed yet. The first thing I do is grab my phone and check my bank balance. I know it's not going to be good, but I do it anyway. Maybe, just maybe, there will be a deposit from my part-time job, or maybe something unexpected will show up, some miracle. But no, it's the same as it was yesterday. Just enough to cover the minimum payments on my credit cards, nothing more. I sit up slowly, staring at the screen, and it hits me all over again, the feeling that nothing's changing. I work all the time. I try to budget, to make better choices, but it always feels like the world is moving at a pace I can't keep up with. Bills are rising faster than my paycheck. Gas prices keep going up. Rent is due in a week, and even though I pay on time every month, I still have to borrow money from my parents to make it. I hate it, but I do it. What else can I do? I drag myself out of bed, making my way to the kitchen to brew some coffee. I don't really feel like eating anything. My stomach is tight from stress, but I know I need the caffeine to get through the day. It's a daily routine now, waking up exhausted, going through the motions, and trying not to think too much about the future. But even if I try to avoid it, the future feels like an anchor around my neck. The way I see it, there's no escape from this cycle. I've been trying for years to save money, to build something, but every time I get close to having a little cushion, something else happens. The car breaks down. The heating system needs fixing. I get a medical bill I wasn't expecting. The things I want, like a better apartment, a vacation, or even just to be able to go out with friends without feeling guilty, keep slipping farther out of reach. And then there's the emotional toll. It's hard to explain to people who aren't in the same position. When I tell my friends or family how stressed I am, they give me advice that doesn't fit. Just budget better, they say. Try a different job, or you should be more proactive about saving. They don't see how all the extra hours I've put in at work still don't make a dent. They don't see that the pressure of trying to keep up is slowly eating me alive, making me second-guess every decision I make, and making me doubt myself in ways I never imagined. The other day, I sat down and tried to figure out if I could afford to go back to school, to take the classes I've always dreamed of taking. I've been wanting to get a degree, to change careers, to build a future where I don't feel like I'm drowning all the time. But when I looked at tuition costs, fees, books, and the loss of income from taking time off work, it didn't seem possible. Not now. Maybe not ever. I'd put off so many dreams already. I wanted to travel, to see places I've only read about. I wanted to have a nice dinner in a restaurant without feeling like I had to check the price of every item on the menu. I wanted to have some space, both physically and mentally, to breathe. To not feel trapped by the constant reminder that I'm not where I should be by now, according to the timelines we're all taught to follow. College, a good job, stability, independence. The whole American dream thing. But instead, I feel like I'm stuck in a never-ending loop of budgeting, worrying, and pretending everything's fine when it's really not. Every time I go to the grocery store, I feel like I'm playing a game of how much can I buy without overstepping my budget. I walk past things I'd like to have, a bottle of wine, a few extra snacks, but I know they'll have to wait. There's a moment of guilt every time I spend money, even when it's something small. I want to be able to treat myself every now and then, but I can't afford to. I don't know how I got here. I did everything right, or so I thought. I worked hard in school, got a decent job, and tried to save. But somehow, I've ended up in this place where it feels like the more I try to climb, the higher the mountain gets. It's like the harder I work, the more invisible I become in the system. It's exhausting. Sometimes, I dream about what it would be like to just let go of everything. To stop caring about making enough money or meeting everyone's expectations. To quit my job and start fresh, to find something that makes me feel alive again. But those dreams feel so far away, like someone else's life that I'll never get to live. I try to hold on to hope that someday things will be different, that one day I'll have the freedom to pursue the things I want and not have to worry constantly. But every time I look at my bank account, that hope feels more and more like a fantasy. I wonder if I'll ever get out of this cycle, or if I'm doomed to always feel like I'm just a few steps behind. I don't even know what success looks like anymore. I don't know if it's a bigger paycheck, a new job, or just being able to live without this constant anxiety. I try to cope by focusing on small victories, getting through the week without overdrawing my account, finding a good deal on groceries, paying off a credit card balance without accruing more debt. But even those small wins are starting to feel hollow. They don't change the fact that I'm living paycheck to paycheck, just one step ahead of a financial disaster. I don't talk about it much, not even with my closest friends. I guess I'm afraid they'll judge me or not understand. They're all moving on with their lives, buying homes, going on vacations, making plans. And here I am, just trying to get by. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing in ways no one else can see. At night, when I'm lying in bed, I think about what I would say to myself if I could go back to the younger version of me, the one who had big dreams, who thought everything would fall into place. I would tell her that life isn't a straight line. That the system is rigged, that there will always be more expenses than income, and that sometimes the best thing you can do is just survive. I would tell her that it's okay to feel lost and stuck, that it doesn't mean she's failing. I would tell her to hold on, even when everything feels impossible. But in the end, all I can do is take it one day at a time. Keep moving forward, even when it feels like I'm walking in circles. Keep holding on to the hope that things will get better, even though it's hard to see how. And maybe, just maybe, that hope will carry me through. Until then, I'll keep doing what I can. I'll keep trying to make things work. Because what else can I do? I wake up to the same sound every morning, the shrill beep of my alarm clock. It's always too early. It's always the same routine, and no matter how many times I do it, it never gets easier. I roll over and glance at my phone, the first mistake of the day. I already know what it will say, but I check anyway. A couple of texts, mostly from work or reminders about bills. One email stands out, another late notice from my student loan provider. I groan and shove my phone back on the nightstand. It's like I can't escape the pressure, no matter how much I try to ignore it. I get up and start the motions of getting ready, brush my teeth, throw on whatever's clean, get a cup of coffee that I know won't be enough to wake me up. My head's foggy, as usual, from another restless night of anxiety dreams, most of which revolved around money. It's been like this for months, maybe longer. I can't remember the last time I had a full night's sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I can almost feel the weight of the world on my chest. The weight of the bills, the debts, the expenses that never stop climbing. I look in the mirror as I finish getting dressed. I'm exhausted. I'm tired of the struggle, tired of pretending like I'm okay when I'm not. But I can't show it. I can't let anyone see how close to breaking I feel. I can't afford to break. I'm 26 years old, and I'm drowning. I'm not sure when it happened exactly, when I crossed over from just struggling to stay afloat to being trapped in this endless cycle of working hard, paying bills, and falling further behind. The math doesn't add up anymore. It hasn't for a long time. No matter how much I work, no matter how much overtime I take, there's never enough. Rent keeps going up. Gas prices rise. Grocery bills are higher than they were just a few months ago. And my paycheck? It's exactly the same. My wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, and I can't escape it. I've had to cancel plans with friends. I've had to turn down invitations to go out or take trips. I've had to say no to things I used to love, things that used to feel like basic freedoms. I can't afford a night out anymore. Even grabbing a coffee with a friend feels like a luxury. I've stopped going to the gym. I've stopped buying clothes unless they're absolutely necessary. I barely have enough for groceries, let alone anything else. It's a constant balancing act, and most days, it feels like I'm losing. I get to work and try to focus. The work itself isn't the problem, I actually enjoy what I do. But it's hard to find joy in something when every minute feels like an hour, and every hour feels like an eternity. I keep checking my watch, counting down the hours until I can go home and do it all over again. My coworkers seem fine, or maybe they're just better at hiding it than I am. But I can't help but feel like they don't understand how it feels to be this close to the edge, to constantly worry about how you're going to pay for the next thing, the next bill, the next expense. Lunch breaks are when the reality hits me hardest. I pull out my sandwich from home, the same one I've had all week. I don't mind it, honestly, I'm just thankful I have food to eat. But as I sit there, watching people grab lunch from the food trucks or order takeout, I feel the sting of it. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I can't afford to eat out. I can't afford to indulge. I can't afford to be normal anymore. My financial reality has taken over every aspect of my life, and it feels like I've lost touch with the things I used to enjoy. My friends have started to notice. They ask if I want to go to a concert, or take a weekend trip, or just hang out. And I want to say yes. I want to feel like I'm still living a life. But I can't. I have to say no because I know I won't be able to make rent if I do. I've had to cancel plans too many times now. I've stopped making plans altogether because I can't face the inevitable disappointment of letting people down again. The worst part is how it's affecting me emotionally. It's like I'm constantly on edge. I feel it in my stomach, this pit of dread that I can never escape. It's always there, gnawing at me, making everything harder than it should be. It's hard to focus. It's hard to get excited about anything. When I look into the future, all I see is more of the same. I don't know how I'll ever get ahead. I don't know if I'll ever be able to save. I don't know if I'll ever have enough. It wasn't always this way. There was a time when I thought everything would work itself out. I had dreams. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to buy a house one day, maybe start a family. I thought I'd be further along by now. But now? Now I'm just trying to survive. I'm not even thinking about my dreams anymore, because the truth is, I can't afford them. I can't even afford the basics most days. I put those dreams aside because they feel so far out of reach. I've had to accept that what I want for my life doesn't matter right now. All that matters is scraping by, just getting through the next week, the next paycheck. I try to remind myself that it's not forever. That things will get better. But sometimes, I feel like I'm just lying to myself. Sometimes, I feel like I'm stuck in this never-ending loop where every time I take a step forward, something happens that drags me back. There are so many things I want to do, so many things I want to experience, but the reality is, I just can't. When I get home, I don't feel like I've really accomplished anything. Sure, I've worked a full day, but it doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I'm not building a future. I'm just trying to survive. And I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no grand payoff. It's just day after day of doing what I can, and hoping that one day things will change. But the truth is, I don't know if they will. I don't know if I'll ever be able to live without this constant worry. I don't know if I'll ever be able to breathe without feeling the weight of everything I owe. Some days, I just want to scream. I want to scream because I feel like I'm doing everything right, and still, I'm falling behind. I'm doing everything I can, and still, I feel like I'm sinking. So, I keep going. I keep working, I keep pushing, because what else can I do? I don't have a choice. But every day, it feels a little harder. Every day, it feels a little more like I'm trapped. And some days, I wonder if I'll ever find a way out. Some days, I wake up already tired. Not the kind of tired that a cup of coffee can fix, but the kind that lives in your bones. A quiet, dragging kind of exhaustion that comes from counting pennies in your head before your feet even hit the floor. I'm 27, with a college degree, 2 part-time jobs, and still somehow, I can't afford a life that feels remotely stable. When I was younger, I thought adulthood would feel like freedom. I used to picture myself living in a little apartment filled with plants and sunlight, working a job I loved, maybe taking a trip once a year to somewhere new and exciting. I thought I'd have a savings account with more than just dust in it. I thought I'd be okay. Instead, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 roommates. Rent jumped again last month. Our landlord barely mumbled a justification. Just said, market rate, like that's supposed to explain everything. I share a room with another girl, and privacy is something I haven't known in years. It's a weird kind of intimacy, hearing someone else cry softly in the dark and pretending you don't. I work mornings at a bakery and evenings at a bookstore. On weekends, I sometimes do Instacart or walk dogs just to make up the shortfall. I'm always calculating, mentally subtracting what's left in my account after rent, utilities, and the minimum payments on my student loans. Don't even get me started on those. It's like I signed a deal at 18 without understanding that it would follow me for decades, like a shadow I can't shake. Every time I see a payment notification pop up, it's like a quiet reminder, you bet on a future that hasn't arrived. Groceries have gotten more expensive, and I feel it with every trip. I've learned to stretch rice and beans into 3 meals. I've memorized which stores mark down produce near closing. I feel guilt every time I buy something not strictly necessary, like the time I bought a $4 bottle of nail polish and spent the whole week feeling like I'd done something wrong. But I needed to feel pretty that day. Just once. I haven't been to the dentist in 2 years. My last checkup ended with the hygienist gently saying, "Try to come back sooner next time," and I nodded, knowing I probably wouldn't. I feel pain in one of my molars now, a dull ache that comes and goes. I chew on the other side. There are days when I sit on my tiny twin mattress and just feel stuck. Like the walls are closing in. Like I'm running on a treadmill with the speed turned up 1 notch too high, always a little behind, always one misstep away from falling hard. I'm not lazy. I'm not unmotivated. I'm just tired. Of trying so hard for so little. And still, I try. I journal, even if it's just to scribble angry words and scratch them out again. I text my mom when I'm feeling low, though I lie and say I'm doing fine. I laugh with my roommates over boxed wine and dumb movies because some nights, laughter is the only currency we can afford. I say yes to coffee dates when I can swing it, even if it means ordering the cheapest item on the menu and nursing it for an hour. Coping looks different every day. Sometimes it's walking in the park and pretending I don't have a to-do list a mile long. Sometimes it's letting myself cry in the shower, where the sound is drowned out. Sometimes it's just making it to bedtime and calling that enough. What hurts the most is watching my dreams morph into compromises. I wanted to be a writer. Not in a grand, best-selling kind of way, just someone who made enough to live and create. I used to write poems and short stories in college. My professors told me I had something. Now, I write marketing copy for a small business on the side when they can pay me. I tell myself it's still writing. I try to believe that counts. I've put off applying for grad school. I've stopped thinking about living alone. I no longer dream of a house with a little garden. Right now, my biggest aspiration is a full-time job with health insurance. That's it. I fantasize about having paid time off, like it's some mythical gift that only other people get. I know I'm not alone in this. A lot of us are carrying these quiet burdens, doing mental math at the grocery store, dodging medical bills, smiling through the weight of it all. We live in a world where everything gets more expensive, but wages stay still. Where success feels more about luck than effort. Where surviving often means shrinking your hopes to fit your circumstances. But even in all this, I still have little flickers of stubborn hope. There are days when I see a stranger do something kind, and I remember that we're all trying. Days when I read a story that moves me and feel inspired to write again. Moments when I catch myself laughing, deep and real, and think, maybe I'm not broken. Maybe I'm just bent a little from the weight, but not snapped. So I keep going. I wake up, already tired, but I get up anyway. I tie my apron, I clock in, I smile at customers, I take deep breaths. I try. Because trying is what I have. Because even if this system feels like it was never meant for people like me to thrive in, I still believe in making something out of the scraps. I still believe in dreaming, even if I have to whisper those dreams into the quiet corners of my day. And maybe one day, I'll have more than just survival. Maybe I'll look back and see that every small choice to keep going was a kind of resistance. A kind of hope, lived out loud. Some mornings I lie in bed a few minutes longer, not because I'm tired, but because the weight of another day feels too heavy to pick up just yet. I stare at the ceiling and do a silent accounting of my life. Rent is due in 9 days. I've got $87 in my checking account. My credit card is near its limit, again. And the student loan payment I deferred for 6 months is coming due next week. I'm 27. I work full-time. But most days, it feels like I'm sprinting on a treadmill with the incline turned up and the speed constantly increasing. No matter how hard I run, I stay in the same place, or worse, I fall behind. I graduated with a degree in communications, thinking I'd carve out a path in digital marketing. I interned, networked, polished my resume. I did all the things we were told would pay off. And now I'm working as a marketing assistant at a mid-sized firm where the pay is just over minimum wage after taxes, and the experience I'm getting feels more like glorified admin work than anything that will launch my career. Still, I'm lucky to even have this job. That's what people keep saying. Lucky. Every decision I make revolves around money. Not in the way people talk about budgeting responsibly, but in a survival sense. I don't buy coffee out anymore. I bring lunch from home when I have the groceries to pack something decent. If my friends ask me to go out, I automatically think about how much the cheapest drink on the menu will be, whether I can get away with nursing it all night, and how I'll explain that I can't split the bill evenly when I only ordered fries. Even things like going to the dentist or getting my car serviced get postponed until I literally can't wait any longer. My tires are almost bald, but I can't afford to replace them. It's spring now, so I tell myself I can stretch it out until fall. I just hope it doesn't rain too much this summer. Living paycheck to paycheck isn't just about numbers. It messes with your sense of safety. I don't have a cushion. If I get sick and miss a few days of work, or if my car breaks down, I don't have anyone I can call for help. My parents are just getting by themselves. I'm always anxious, always trying to plan 5 steps ahead while juggling today's crisis. Sometimes I find myself envying strangers on the subway. A woman in a tailored coat sipping a latte, scrolling through her phone with that calm look of someone whose bills are paid. I wonder what it's like to not constantly calculate things in your head. To buy groceries without holding your breath as the cashier rings them up. To say yes to weekend plans without secretly worrying if your card will decline. The worst part is how this has changed what I allow myself to hope for. I used to want to move to a new city, maybe Portland or Chicago, and work for a creative agency. I imagined myself in a loft apartment, walking to work, buying flowers for my kitchen table. I wanted to travel, to Japan, to Italy, to somewhere with beaches and silence and sky. Now I just want stability. Not even wealth, just enough to feel like I'm not drowning. I want to be able to cover rent and groceries and maybe save a little. I want to sleep without that pit of dread in my stomach, worrying about the next overdraft fee or unexpected bill. There are little things I do to cope. I write sometimes, short poems, pieces like this one, journaling what I feel because at least then it's outside of me, not eating me up from within. I talk to friends who are going through the same thing. We joke about it, about being broke millennials and living on rice and eggs. Humor softens the blow. So does honesty. There's something comforting in realizing you're not alone, that the system is broken and it's not entirely your fault. But I still carry a lot of shame. I feel behind. I feel like I've failed some invisible test. I see people buying homes, getting married, having kids, and I can't even picture affording a pet. I know social media skews everything, but it's hard not to compare. What gets to me most is that I work hard. I show up early, stay late when needed, do more than I'm paid for, and it still doesn't matter. Expenses grow faster than my income, no matter how many side hustles I pick up. I did food delivery for a while in the evenings, but the wear and tear on my car started costing more than I earned. Sometimes I wonder if this is just what adulthood is now, constant economic anxiety, dreams on pause, ambition turned into exhaustion. And if it is, how long can people keep this up before something breaks? I still dream. Quietly, and only to myself. I dream of having a tiny house with light streaming in through big windows. I dream of being able to buy books without guilt, to take a real vacation, to have enough margin in my life to actually enjoy it. I haven't given up. But I have scaled back. And maybe that's the part that hurts the most, not the struggling, but the shrinking of my own hopes to fit inside what's realistically affordable. It feels like being forced to live a smaller life than the one I'm capable of, all because the math doesn't add up. But tomorrow I'll get up, make my instant coffee, and go to work. I'll bring lunch, decline happy hour, and keep checking my bank app like a nervous tick. I'll keep going. Not because it's easy. Not because I'm thriving. But because stopping isn't an option, and somewhere deep down, I still believe that maybe, someday, things will get better. I wake up every morning to the sound of my neighbor's car alarm. It's like a cruel reminder, 6 a.m., like clockwork, that I have another day to survive, not live. I used to get up and scroll social media, but now I don't have the energy. Seeing other people traveling, getting engaged, buying homes, it just makes me feel like I'm walking in place while the world sprints ahead. My name's Jordan. I'm 27, have a degree in communications, and I live in a cramped one-bedroom apartment I share with my partner, Sam, and our cat, Dusty. Rent eats up more than half our combined income. We used to joke about it, how we pay more to live here than some people's mortgage payments, but lately, the joke's lost its punch. We're just tired. I work full-time at a nonprofit and do freelance copywriting on the side. Sam juggles shifts at a bookstore and does online tutoring when there are enough students. We both work 6 or 7 days a week, depending on what comes up. Somehow, despite all that, we still feel like we're barely holding on. Groceries used to be a routine errand. Now it's a mental chess game. We make a list, argue about brands, calculate per ounce prices, and check the clearance shelf like it holds hidden treasure. A few weeks ago, we had to choose between buying fresh produce or topping up our Subway cards. We picked the Subway cards. You can't work if you can't get there. It's not like we're irresponsible. We don't eat out. We haven't taken a vacation in years. We don't have subscriptions, we use the library, and most of our clothes are thrifted or hand-me-downs from friends. Yet every month, it feels like the math just doesn't work anymore. Rent goes up. Groceries go up. Utilities go up. Our wages? They stay the same. There's this constant pressure behind my eyes, like a headache that never breaks into pain but never goes away. I think that's just what anxiety feels like now. I worry about what happens if one of us gets sick. We don't have health insurance through our jobs, so we rely on a patchwork of clinics and urgent care. Last winter, Sam had strep, and we had to put the urgent care visit on a credit card we'd finally almost paid off. That card now has $800 on it again. There's no room for error in our lives. No space to breathe. One wrong step, one unexpected bill, and everything collapses like a badly built tower. And I don't think people really understand that unless they're living it. They say, just save a little every month, like that's possible when your income evaporates the second it hits your account. Dreams? I used to have them. I wanted to write a novel. I had the idea sketched out, whole chapters mapped in my head. I even started writing it one winter when I had a little more freelance work and cut back on hours at the nonprofit. But then my laptop broke, and replacing it wiped out everything I'd set aside. I haven't touched that story since. Sam wanted to go back to school, maybe become a teacher. But we can't even afford to look at tuition prices. Just the thought of student loans makes our chests tighten. We talk sometimes about moving somewhere cheaper, somewhere quieter. But then we remember the jobs we'd have to leave behind. We don't have a safety net. No family with extra rooms or spare funds. We're it. And the system isn't built for people like us to take risks. So we stay. We cope in small ways. Sam bakes bread, it fills the apartment with warmth we can't afford to turn on. I listen to podcasts and go for walks when I can. Dusty, our cat, has a way of curling up beside us just when things feel the most hopeless. It's funny how much comfort can live in something so small. Sometimes, late at night, I lie awake and fantasize about what life would be like if money wasn't a constant threat. I imagine having a house, not even a big one, just something stable, where we could plant a garden or paint the walls without asking permission. I think about writing again, finishing my book, maybe even seeing it on a shelf one day. But then morning comes. The car alarm goes off. And I get up and do it all again. Because I have to. Because even if I feel like I'm trapped in a maze designed to keep people like me running in circles, I still hold on to something. Maybe it's stubbornness. Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's just habit. But I keep going. I guess that's what surviving looks like. It doesn't feel brave. It just feels necessary. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough, for now. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I didn't realize how loud silence could be until I was sitting in my kitchen one Tuesday evening, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and nothing else. I was staring at a box of pasta I bought 2 weeks ago, trying to decide if I should make half of it now or save it for when I'd feel hungrier. That's where I'm at. Not starving, not destitute, but always calculating, always compromising. I'm 26. I have a degree in communications, a job in customer support at a mid-sized tech company, and $37,000 in student debt that I swear whispers my name every time I check my bank account. I make $21 an hour, which seemed like a miracle when I first got hired. But that miracle fades a little every month when rent creeps up, groceries inflate again, and some new unexpected bill finds a way to land in my lap. Last week, I had to choose between paying my internet bill or getting a cavity filled. I chose the internet. My tooth still aches every time I sip something cold, but my job is remote, no internet means no work, no paycheck, no rent. It's a messed up logic, but it's the only kind I can afford. I live in a one-bedroom apartment that costs more than half my monthly income. My building smells like mold when it rains, the walls are thin enough to hear my neighbor's phone arguments, and the heater makes a sound like it's choking every night. But it's still cheap for the area. There's a constant, dull pressure in my chest every time the first of the month rolls around. Rent day. Budget day. Survival day. I used to dream bigger. I wanted to be a writer. I used to imagine myself in a cozy apartment with books lining the walls, writing articles or essays or stories that mattered. Maybe travel a bit, see the cities I read about in books. I still write sometimes, usually at night when my brain won't shut off, but it's more like whispering to a dream I'm afraid to wake. I don't have time to pour myself into unpaid passion projects. I barely have the time to rest. A few years ago, I thought adulthood would feel more free. I thought working hard would pay off. My parents said it would. Teachers said it would. Go to college, get a good job, and you'll be fine. But the economy we were promised doesn't exist. Everything costs more, wages crawl while prices sprint, and I feel like I'm running in place, breathless, sweaty, and still getting nowhere. Everyday decisions feel weighted. Do I take the bus or spend the extra $10 on an Uber to get to work on time when the buses are delayed? Do I buy fresh vegetables that might go bad before I can use them, or microwave dinners that are cheaper and last longer? Can I afford to say yes when a friend invites me out for a drink? Lately, it's always no. They've stopped asking. Social media doesn't help. Scrolling through other people's curated lives is like rubbing salt into a wound. Engagements, vacations, promotions, first homes, it all feels so far away from me that it might as well be fiction. And I know comparison is a trap, but it's hard not to look around and wonder what I did wrong. Some days I cope by pretending it's temporary. I tell myself I just need to hang in a little longer, save a little more, keep applying to better jobs. But hope has a cost too, and when it keeps getting deferred, it starts to feel like debt. Emotional debt. Like I owe my younger self an apology for not becoming who I said I'd be. Other days I cope by shutting down. I scroll mindlessly, eat whatever's cheap, ignore the emails from my loan servicer, and convince myself that this is just what life is now. That's the scariest part, not the struggle, but the dull resignation that comes with it. I've learned little hacks to get by. I make a week's worth of lentils and rice on Sundays. I buy clothes secondhand and mend them when they tear. I drink coffee at home and carry it in a thermos. I haven't seen a doctor in almost 2 years, but I Google symptoms and hope for the best. I use the library's Wi-Fi when my internet cuts out. I'm not proud of these things, but they're my tools, my version of resilience. What hurts the most is how lonely it can feel. I know I'm not the only one. I read articles, Reddit threads, listened to podcasts. People like me are everywhere, quietly treading water, working multiple jobs, living with roommates into their 30s, delaying kids, careers, joy. We're told to hustle, to save harder, to stop buying lattes, but that advice feels like someone yelling at a drowning person to swim better. Sometimes, late at night, I still picture the life I want. A small home with warm light. A job that gives me time and energy to write. A savings account that doesn't make me anxious. Maybe a partner who understands this kind of tired. Maybe a garden. It's simple, not extravagant. Just stable, and soft around the edges. I don't know how long it will take to get there. I don't even know if I'll get there. But I know I'm not lazy. I know I work hard. I know I'm doing everything I can. And maybe that has to be enough, for now. For now, I keep waking up. I keep showing up. I keep stretching every dollar until it screams. And I keep a little piece of hope tucked away, like a note in a coat pocket, just in case the future decides to be kind. I don't really remember when it started feeling like I was falling behind, not just a little, but like I was sprinting underwater while the rest of the world ran on dry land. It's not like I ever expected to be rich, but I thought I'd be okay. You grow up thinking if you do the right things, go to school, get a degree, work hard, you'll land somewhere solid. But now, at 28, I'm realizing that doing all the right things just bought me a ticket into a system that feels rigged. I have a full-time job. I actually have two, if you count the freelancing I squeeze in after 6 p.m. I work as a marketing assistant at a mid-sized firm in the city. It's not a bad job, I like the creative parts, and my manager is decent, but after taxes, student loan payments, rent, insurance, and groceries, I usually have maybe $100 left by the end of the month. And that's only if nothing goes wrong. One unexpected vet bill for my cat, a car repair, or even a surprise birthday dinner I couldn't say no to, and I'm back to swiping my credit card and telling myself I'll figure it out later. Every decision I make runs through a mental calculator. Can I afford to meet a friend for dinner? Probably not, unless I order water and skip an entree. Can I take a weekend trip out of town? Definitely not. Gas, lodging, and time off work are all luxuries I can't justify. Even going to the grocery store is an exercise in guilt and anxiety. I find myself putting things back on the shelves mid-aisle. Almond butter? Too expensive. Name brand cereal? Nope. Fresh berries? Only if they're on sale. I live in a small studio apartment with thin walls and a broken heater that the landlord still hasn't fixed. I used to dream of having a place with sunlight, maybe a little balcony where I could drink coffee and read in the mornings. Now I just hope the rent won't go up again next year. It already takes up more than half my monthly income. I looked into moving further out of the city to save money, but then I'd spend hours commuting, and with gas prices the way they are, it barely breaks even. I think what gets to me most is the emotional whiplash. One moment I feel proud of myself for staying afloat, for being independent. The next, I'm consumed with shame, for being almost 30 and having nothing to show for it. No savings, no house, no real security. Just stress. Constant, exhausting stress. Social media doesn't help. I scroll past posts of people my age buying homes, traveling the world, getting married in vineyards. I know comparison is the thief of joy, but it's hard not to look at my life and wonder what I'm doing wrong. I work hard. I'm smart. I don't spend frivolously. So why does it feel like I'm always stuck on level 1 while everyone else is unlocking achievements? I had dreams once. Big ones. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a master's in design. I wanted to start my own creative agency. Travel to Europe. Learn Italian. Adopt another cat. But those things are on hold now. Indefinitely. I tell myself they're not gone, just postponed. But sometimes it feels like I've traded my dreams for survival, and I don't know how to get them back. I cope in small ways. I keep a journal, it helps me untangle the noise in my head. I take long walks when I can, even if it's just around the block. There's something about the rhythm of walking that calms me. I make playlists for every mood, and I listen to them on repeat to remind myself that even in chaos, there can be beauty. I call my mom when things feel especially heavy. She doesn't have all the answers, but her voice reminds me I'm not alone. I've also found small joys that don't cost much. A good library book. A hot cup of coffee in the morning. Finding the perfect second-hand jacket for $12. Laughing at a dumb meme with a friend over text. They don't fix the bigger issues, but they stitch up the edges when things start to unravel. I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. A lot of us are quietly carrying this pressure, pretending everything's fine when we're really exhausted. I think that's part of what makes it so isolating. We all suffer in silence, convinced we're the only ones who haven't figured it out. I don't have a neat, hopeful ending for this story. I'm still in it. Still hustling, still budgeting to the cent, still wondering if it'll ever feel easier. But I try to hold on to some kind of stubborn hope, the belief that something better is possible. That one day. I wake up before the sun does, not because I'm a morning person or because I want to meditate and seize the day, but because I have to catch the 5:40 a.m. bus to make it to my shift on time. I've gotten good at making instant coffee with one eye open. The sound of boiling water is now my alarm clock. Rent went up last month, so I moved to a cheaper place further out from the city. It's an extra 40 minutes of commuting each way, but it's all I can afford. I'm 27. Sometimes that number feels too old, sometimes too young, mostly it just feels stuck. I graduated during a recession recovery that never really recovered for people like me. I have a degree in communications, minor in psychology, and about $48,000 in student debt to show for it. My diploma sits in a box under my bed, next to a folder of unpaid medical bills and a copy of my resume that I haven't updated in a year. I don't even have the energy to fake hope anymore. My job isn't terrible. I work at a logistics warehouse. It's not what I pictured when I was writing essays about media theory and interpersonal dynamics, but the pay is slightly above minimum wage, and I get some overtime if I'm lucky. I'm grateful to have something. God knows people are getting laid off left and right, but every time I look at my paycheck and compare it to what my rent, groceries, and transportation cost, I feel like I'm trying to fill a bathtub with a leaky cup. Groceries are a puzzle now. I used to like cooking, used to try new recipes, made Sunday meals for the week. Now it's mostly dollar store canned beans, rice, maybe some frozen vegetables when they're on sale. Fresh fruit feels like a luxury. A carton of strawberries is $6.29 at my local store. That's an hour of my labor, after tax. For strawberries. I skip meals more often than I admit. At work, I say I'm trying intermittent fasting. The truth is, I just don't always have enough. When I do allow myself a night off, something small, like a $3.50 gas station wine cooler or streaming a $1.99 movie, I feel guilty. Like I'm betraying future me, the one who still needs to pay rent, save for car repairs, and someday afford a dental checkup. I haven't been to the dentist in 4 years. I pretend it's because I'm not scared of the pain, but honestly, I'm terrified. Not of the drill, but of the bill. The hardest part isn't even the money, really. It's the way it seeps into everything. It's saying no to friends because I'm tired, when really I can't afford drinks or the gas to get there. It's the way I scroll through social media and see people getting married, buying homes, traveling, and I feel like I missed a boat no one told me was leaving. It's the way I ration my mental energy like I ration food, because constant stress is exhausting. There's a quiet shame in being broke. People don't talk about it the same way they talk about other struggles. When you're broke, people think you're irresponsible, lazy, or made bad choices. But I've made good choices. I worked hard, stayed out of trouble, followed the advice I was given: go to college, don't overspend, work hard, network. What they don't tell you is that all those good choices don't always matter when rent is half your income and the cost of living rises faster than your paycheck ever will. I used to dream big. I wanted to work in nonprofit communications, maybe something focused on mental health advocacy. I even had a dream of starting my own community outreach program someday. Now, I dream of stability. A second-hand car that won't break down. A one-bedroom apartment without mold. A week without anxiety gnawing at my stomach like hunger. Sometimes, I fantasize about what it would feel like to have an emergency fund. Just a few thousand in savings. Enough to breathe, to know that one unexpected medical expense or car repair wouldn't send me spiraling. Right now, even the idea of saving feels like a cruel joke. I put away what I can, $10 here, $25 there, but it often disappears by the end of the month. I'm not trying to sound hopeless. I still have moments, watching the sun rise through the bus window, laughing at something my coworker says, finishing a good library book, that remind me I'm still alive, still trying. I volunteer on weekends when I can. It helps me feel like I matter, even if I'm not changing the world. And I keep applying for jobs, trying to believe something better is coming, even if it feels like screaming into the void. What keeps me going? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe the belief, however faint, that my life can still become something more than this constant hustle. Maybe just the small, daily act of getting up, making coffee, catching the bus, showing up. I'm not lazy. I'm not unmotivated. I'm just tired. And trying. And hoping that, someday, the system will stop breaking people like me. I didn't think it would feel like this. Being an adult, I mean. I knew it wouldn't be easy, I'm not naive, but I thought there'd be more breathing room. More moments to feel like I'm living, not just surviving. I'm 28. I work full-time in marketing for a mid-sized company. It's not glamorous, but it's stable, and I used to think stability was the ticket. Turns out, stability just means you can predict how exhausted you'll be every week. It doesn't mean you can afford rent without flinching or buy groceries without a calculator in your hand. Rent alone takes up 45% of my paycheck. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in a not-so-great part of town. It's got that perpetual scent of mildew that no amount of candles or cleaning products can erase. The tiles in the bathroom are cracked. My upstairs neighbor stomps like he's trying to summon the dead. Still, it's cheaper than anything else within commuting distance, and I try to be grateful. That's something I've learned, how to bend my gratitude around the things that should have just been basic. The economic pressure is constant, like a weight on my chest that never shifts. It colors everything. I count every dollar. I stopped eating out altogether last year, even though I used to love little cafes, late-night diners, the occasional sushi splurge. Now, I cook basic meals in bulk: rice, lentils, canned vegetables. It's not that I mind cooking. It's that I don't have the mental space to enjoy it anymore. Cooking isn't creative or relaxing, it's another math problem. Another survival tactic. I used to dream about traveling. I still have a Pinterest board titled Italy 2020. Of course, 2020 became the year we all stayed inside, and the years after have just been a slow realization that someday is slipping further out of reach. My passport is expired now. That feels symbolic. Even little things feel like luxuries. New clothes? Only if absolutely necessary, and even then, it's second-hand. My laptop is 6 years old, held together with tape and hope. I need it for freelance work on the side, graphic design gigs that I pick up to supplement my income. Without those side hustles, I wouldn't be able to cover emergencies, like last month when my car needed new brakes. I cried in the mechanic's waiting room, not because of the cost, though that was bad enough, but because I realized I hadn't let myself cry in months. I'm always too busy keeping it together. The hardest part is how alone it feels. Most of my friends are in similar boats, but no one wants to talk about money. There's a lot of shame in it, especially when you've done everything right. College degree? Check. Job with benefits? Check. No frivolous spending? Double check. But it's still not enough. I watch my parents and wonder how they did it. By my age, they owned a home. They had 2 kids. They went on annual vacations. I know the economy was different then, but knowing doesn't make it hurt less. Sometimes I feel like I'm running a race that was rigged from the start, like the finish line keeps moving further away each time I get close. Social media makes it worse. Every time someone posts about a new house, a wedding, a just because trip to Bali, I feel like I'm failing. Rationally, I know people curate their lives. But emotionally, it cuts deep. I start to spiral. Am I not working hard enough? Am I missing some secret everyone else knows? I've learned to cope in small ways. I go for walks in the early morning when the city is quiet. I keep a journal where I vent, dream, and sometimes just list things I'm grateful for: warm socks, my cat, the smell of rain. I talk to my little sister on the phone every Sunday. We joke about our lives like it's a sitcom, but I think that's just how we process it. Humor is the armor we wear. I postponed a lot of dreams. Buying a house isn't even on the radar anymore. Getting married feels like a financial impossibility. Who has 20 grand for a wedding? Kids? I can't even afford a dog right now. I used to imagine myself opening a small design studio, maybe teaching art classes on the side. Now, I just hope to make it through the month without dipping into savings. But I haven't given up entirely. Some days, I catch myself sketching again, doodling ideas in the margins of my planner. There's a stubborn part of me that still believes in beauty, in possibility. I think that's what keeps me going, the hope that things might get better, even if I can't see the path clearly yet. I'm not lazy. I'm not entitled. I'm just tired. Tired of feeling like survival is all I can afford. Tired of pretending I'm okay when my whole life feels like a delicate balancing act. But I'm still here. Still trying. And maybe that's something. Maybe that's enough for now. I never thought I'd be 26 and scared to check my bank account. I remember being a teenager, picturing myself in my mid-20s with a cozy apartment, a steady job, maybe traveling once or twice a year. I thought I'd feel like an adult by now, whatever that meant. But what I feel most days is this low, constant pressure, like I'm underwater, and every breath costs money. I work full-time at a nonprofit doing communications work. It's meaningful, I guess. I write articles, manage the website, coordinate events. The kind of job that looks respectable on LinkedIn but pays like I'm still in college. My take-home after taxes is just under $200 a month. My rent alone is $1,340. That's a one-bedroom I share with a friend who basically lives in the living room we've turned into a second bedroom with a curtain divider. Utilities, internet, my phone, those chip away another $300. That leaves maybe $500 for groceries, transportation, anything fun, emergencies, or saving, which is laughable at this point. Every day is a math problem. Do I get groceries now or wait until Thursday when I get paid again? Can I afford to go to my cousin's wedding next month? Probably not, even though I want to be there. I bought a new pair of shoes recently, cheap ones, but still, and felt guilty for 3 days. Guilt for buying something I needed. That's the emotional tax of being broke. I used to think budgeting was about discipline. Now I know it's about trade-offs. You don't cut out lattes and suddenly become rich. You cut out lattes, then you cut out meat, then you skip doctor's appointments, delay car maintenance, and before long, you're living with broken things because fixing them is a luxury. My car is 12 years old and sounds like it's growling every time I start it. It needs a new timing belt, but I've been putting that off for months. I just pray it doesn't break down on the highway because that's not just dangerous, it's financially catastrophic. There's no room in my budget for a tow, let alone repairs. And God, the debt. I have $42,000 in student loans, though I barely think about that number anymore. It's too big to hold in my head. I pay the minimum, which is basically interest. It's like standing on a treadmill going nowhere and pretending it's movement. I used to dream of going back to school, maybe for a master's in public policy, or even creative writing. That dream's on hold, possibly forever. I can't take on more debt for a piece of paper that may or may not improve my chances in a world where even people with degrees are broke. It's not that I don't work hard. I work 40 hours a week, sometimes more. I freelance on the side when I can, writing blog posts for tech companies or editing resumes for people with better paying jobs than mine. I'm exhausted all the time. Emotionally drained, physically sore, and mentally on edge. I cry more than I used to. I wake up with this tight feeling in my chest, like I'm already behind before the day even starts. I look around and feel like everyone else is doing better. Instagram is a constant feed of travel pics, new apartments, weddings, and brunches. I know it's a highlight reel, but it still hits hard. I wonder how they're affording it. Do they have family support? Better jobs? Less debt? Or are they just better at pretending? Sometimes I think about moving back in with my parents. But their situation isn't much better. My mom's a cashier at a grocery store. My dad drives for Uber part-time since his factory job laid him off 2 years ago. They're proud of me, tell me I'm doing okay. But I feel like I've failed. Like I was supposed to be the one who made it and brought some stability back into the family. I can't even afford to take them out to dinner. There's a kind of shame that clings to poverty. Not just from the outside world but internalized, too. It makes you doubt your worth, your choices, your intelligence. I know I'm smart. I graduated with honors. I work hard. But it feels like the system is rigged, like I'm stuck in a game that keeps changing the rules. Wages don't keep up with rent, with inflation, with health insurance premiums. My cost of living rises every few months. My paycheck doesn't. I've postponed so many dreams. Travel. Owning a home. Even simple things like adopting a dog or taking dance classes. Dating is hard, too. I've ended relationships because I didn't want someone to see how tight things really are. It's hard to feel lovable when you're barely holding your life together. Still, I try to find moments of peace. I go for walks in the evenings, listen to podcasts, cook cheap meals that make me feel like I have some control. I read a lot, mostly fiction, because it helps me escape. And I write, even though I don't share much. It's a way to process, to imagine a life where I'm not just surviving. I want more than this. I want stability. I want to wake up and not panic about money. I want to be able to afford things without mental gymnastics. I want to save. To give. To dream. I haven't given up completely. I still apply to new jobs, hoping something better will come along. I still fantasize about writing a book one day. Maybe renting a small cabin by the coast, just for a week, and letting myself breathe. But for now, I grind. I stretch every dollar. I smile when I'm supposed to. I push through the days. And when people ask how I'm doing, I say I'm okay, because most of the time, that's all I can manage to be. There's a constant hum in the back of my mind, a low buzz that never quite goes away. It's the numbers, always the numbers. They follow me like a shadow, pacing at my side as I try to go about my day. I try to pretend they're not there, but I can feel them, the bills piling up, the paycheck that just barely stretches, the things I want but can't afford, the dreams that seem so far out of reach. I'm 25, still trying to figure out life, but one thing is already clear, I don't know how to manage money. Well, maybe it's not that simple. It's not that I don't know the basics. It's just that the basics don't feel like they're enough anymore. Everything costs more, and I'm stuck at a job that barely pays the rent, let alone allows me to save for anything. I work at a cafe now. It's not glamorous, but it's steady work. Mostly, I just make coffee and chat with customers who pretend they don't notice how exhausted I am. But the paycheck I get every 2 weeks. It's not enough. Not by a long shot. Rent alone takes up most of it. And then there's the student loan payments that hang over my head like a guillotine, the car insurance that keeps creeping higher, and the credit card bills from when I needed to buy something for work or to treat myself after a rough week. I know I shouldn't have used that credit card, but I did. And now it's another thing I have to juggle. At night, when I lie in bed, it's hard to fall asleep. I think about all the things I still want to do. Travel, see the world, find a career I can be proud of. I want to move out of my tiny apartment. This place doesn't even have a washer or dryer, so I drag my laundry to the laundromat every week. But moving out means more money, and right now, my savings account doesn't even exist. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever get to a point where I can feel secure, like I'm not always one missed paycheck away from drowning. I try to convince myself that it'll get better eventually, that things will turn around. But I look around and see everyone else in the same situation. We're all just trying to survive. Friends who have degrees in things like marketing or graphic design are still waiting tables, working at stores, just like me. They tell me, it'll happen. We just have to keep pushing. But every time they say it, something in me feels a little more hollow. How much longer can we keep pushing before we just burn out? I've stopped doing things I used to love. I haven't been to a concert in over a year because tickets cost too much. My friends keep asking me to go to happy hour, but I can't even look at the prices on the menu without feeling sick to my stomach. I tell myself it's just a phase, but I don't know. The weight of it all feels heavy on my chest some days. It's like a low-grade anxiety that won't go away, no matter how many deep breaths I take or how hard I try to ignore it. There's no one moment that made it all feel this way. It wasn't a huge event that turned my life upside down. It's just the quiet, constant grind of watching everything I've worked for slip through my fingers. I look at older people, people who have families or homes or businesses, and I wonder how they did it. Did they ever feel like I do? Trapped in a system that keeps pushing them further and further away from what they wanted in life. I don't know what's worse, the fear of never getting ahead or the guilt of not having it together yet. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing. Not just in a career sense but in life. Shouldn't I be able to figure this out by now? Shouldn't I be able to find a way to balance it all? It's like watching a race where everyone else is miles ahead and I'm still standing at the starting line, hoping I can catch up. But there are days when I try to find joy in small things. It's the simple pleasures that get me through. A warm cup of tea in the morning, the way the sun hits the sidewalk just right in the early afternoon. A text from a friend, checking in to see if I'm okay. There's something beautiful in those moments, but it's hard to hold on to them when the weight of everything else presses in. Sometimes, I let myself indulge in a fancy coffee or a cheap book I can get on sale. Little escapes. But they don't last. I feel the pull of reality again, creeping back in, reminding me that I can't afford the luxury of a break for too long. I've learned to budget. I've learned to stretch $1 until it feels like it's going to snap. But no matter how tight I hold on to the edges, it always slips through my fingers. I use coupons for everything, clip deals, ask for discounts. But it's never enough. And there's a frustration that builds when I realize that no matter how hard I try, there's always more to pay for, more taxes, more fees, more things I didn't anticipate. I can barely keep track of it all. And then there's the constant comparison. Everyone else seems to be doing better than me. My social media feed is a never-ending parade of vacations, new homes, shiny cars, and dinner parties. Everyone else seems to be living the dream while I'm here, counting pennies and wondering if I'll ever get ahead. I know it's not real. I know people are just showing the highlights. But it doesn't stop the envy from creeping in. It's hard not to feel like I'm missing out on something. I've started to wonder if my dreams are just illusions now, things I used to hold on to when I thought there was a future worth fighting for. I wanted to go back to school, to get my master's in something that could help me break free from this cycle. But how could I afford that? It feels like a joke. I wanted to travel, to see places that weren't just pictures in magazines. But I can't even afford the plane ticket, let alone the time off from work. All of these things that once felt like possibilities now seem like distant fantasies. I tell myself that things will get better, that this is just a phase, and I'm just paying my dues. But I don't know if that's true anymore. I don't know if I believe in the idea that hard work always pays off. The system feels rigged, and I feel like a hamster on a wheel that's spinning faster and faster without going anywhere. I want to feel hopeful again. I want to believe that one day, things will shift. But some days, the pressure feels like it might crush me, like I'm not going to make it out. And yet, here I am, every day, just trying to make it through. I think that's all we can do sometimes, right? Keep going, even when it feels like we're running on empty. It's a strange kind of survival. A quiet, exhausting survival. And I don't know how long I can keep it up. But maybe, just maybe, I'll make it to the other side. I have to believe that. I have to keep holding on. For now, that's enough. I'm 27, and I'm tired. Not the kind of tired that a good night's sleep fixes. It's deeper, heavier, a constant pressure sitting on my chest that no amount of coffee or therapy seems to lift. I live in a small, overpriced apartment in a city that's supposed to be full of opportunity. Maybe it is, but it feels like the only opportunity I've gotten here is the chance to struggle more creatively. I work 2 jobs. One as a receptionist at a dental office during the day, and the other as a part-time delivery driver for a grocery app at night. Together, they barely cover rent, food, gas, and the never-ending stream of bills. My student loans are in deferment, again, because the payments would eat up what little I have left. Some nights, I stare at the balance and feel sick. $58000. I don't even use my degree. It's like I bought an expensive ticket to a show that never started. Every decision I make has to be filtered through the lens of survival. I buy the store brand everything. I ration groceries like I'm preparing for the apocalypse. I avoid social events not because I don't want to see my friends, but because I can't afford the drinks, the dinner, the Uber. They understand, at least, I think they do, but it still makes me feel like I'm on the outside looking in. What really gets me is how normal this has become. Like when my phone screen cracked, I didn't even flinch. I just kept using it, swiping over the shattered glass like it was no big deal. When my car started making that weird clicking sound, I turned the music up louder. I can't afford a mechanic right now. Hell, I can't afford for it to break down at all. If it does, I'll lose my delivery gig, which means I'll fall behind on rent, which means I try not to go too far down that spiral, but it's always there. I didn't grow up poor. We weren't rich, but my parents had stable jobs. I remember family vacations, nothing extravagant, just road trips to the mountains or the coast. I remember watching my parents pay bills with a kind of confidence, like the money might be tight, but it would always be enough. I thought that's what being an adult would feel like. I thought by now I'd have a savings account that wasn't constantly teetering near zero. I thought I'd be working in marketing or communications, maybe saving up for a down payment on a house, planning a wedding, thinking about kids. Instead, I'm spending hours figuring out which bills I can delay and which ones will shut off immediately if I don't pay. I'm choosing between groceries and my mental health meds. I'm wiping away tears on my lunch break and going back to answering phones with a forced smile. I'm watching my peers online announce promotions, vacations, engagements, living the life I was supposed to have. Some nights I lie awake and think about how different things could have been. If wages had kept up with inflation. If rent wasn't 60% of my income. If healthcare didn't cost a fortune. If I hadn't been sold the dream that a college degree would be the golden ticket to a good life. Sometimes, I feel like I did everything right and still ended up here, drowning in an economy that doesn't care how hard I work. What no one tells you about financial stress is how deeply it seeps into your identity. You start to feel like you are the struggle. You begin to see yourself not as someone living in poverty, but someone who is poor. There's shame in it, even though I know logically it's not my fault. I still feel it. Every time I say no to something fun. Every time I wear the same shoes for another year. Every time I walk past a job fair and feel too tired, too burned out to even pick up a flyer. But I keep going. I don't really know what else to do. There are small things that help. I journal. I go for long walks in the evening when the air cools and the city feels less hostile. I call my sister, who lives in another state, and we laugh about dumb things from our childhood. I listen to podcasts about people who've made it through worse, people who found a way out. I'm trying to believe there's a way out for me, too. Sometimes I think about my dreams, the ones I've shelved, not thrown away. I still want to write. I used to imagine publishing a novel before I turned 30. That's not going to happen, but maybe someday. I'd love to travel, to see the world beyond the cracked sidewalk in front of my apartment. I want to feel proud of my life, not like I'm constantly apologizing for it. Hope is tricky. It feels dangerous to hold on to, like one more thing I can't afford to lose. But it also feels necessary. I think that's what keeps me going, really, not the paycheck, not the budget spreadsheets, not even the little coping rituals. It's the belief, however fragile, that this isn't all there is. That one day I won't have to choose between gas and groceries. That one day I'll have more than enough. That I'll wake up and not feel the tightness in my chest, the dread in my stomach. That I'll get to live a life that feels like mine, not one shaped entirely by what I can't afford. I'm still tired. But I'm here. It's hard to describe what it feels like to be stuck in this cycle of trying to survive. Every day, I wake up and feel like I'm already losing. Losing time, losing energy, and most importantly, losing the feeling that things will ever improve. I guess if I'm honest, I've felt this way for a long time. Ever since I moved out on my own, the weight of it all started to sink in. It was supposed to be an exciting chapter, but somehow, it's just been a constant hustle to make ends meet. I'm 24 now, and I don't know when things started to feel out of control. Maybe it's when rent went up again, or when I got hit with another surprise expense. But every month, it's like I'm trying to juggle balls that keep getting heavier and heavier. I'll admit, I have moments where I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, if I just need to try harder or be smarter about my choices. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like no matter how hard I try, it's never enough. This month is especially tight. My phone bill doubled, my car insurance went up, and I still haven't figured out how to replace my laptop that died last week. I've been postponing it for weeks now, telling myself I'll be fine without it for a little while longer. The thing is, I don't even know how I got here. I graduated college with decent grades and a ton of ambition. I thought I'd land a job that matched my dreams, but all I found were offers that barely pay the bills. And even though my friends seem to have their stuff together, living in apartments they actually like and traveling on weekends, I'm stuck in a one-bedroom in a building that's falling apart, counting pennies. There's this constant hum of anxiety running through me, even when I'm not actively thinking about it. It's like a low-frequency sound I can't escape, no matter how hard I try to focus on other things. When I meet up with friends, I can't shake the feeling that they're all more stable than me. They don't talk about their finances much, and I don't either, because it feels like I'm the only one drowning in bills. I'm not sure when it became this thing where no one wants to admit that they're struggling, but it's like we're all just pretending we're fine. Even grocery shopping feels like a gamble. I stand in the aisle, staring at the shelves, trying to figure out what I can afford. Should I splurge on a pack of strawberries that might give me a little joy, or do I just get the frozen vegetables again because they're cheaper and will last longer? I always choose the frozen vegetables. I wonder if I'll ever not have to make these choices. Will I ever get to the point where I can just buy something without calculating every last cent in my bank account first? It's exhausting. What I think gets to me the most is how quickly everything changes. One minute, I'm doing okay, the next, a bill or a car repair throws me off balance, and I'm back to scrambling. It's like I'm standing on shaky ground, and I can never really find solid footing. I can feel myself slipping more often now. Sometimes I can't even bring myself to open my bank account to check how much I've spent or what I have left. It's like staring at the scale and knowing you've gained weight, but not having the energy to confront it. But I don't have a choice, those bills keep coming. Rent comes due. The credit card companies start calling. It's like being in a race that never ends. There are days when I get angry about it. Angry that I worked so hard to get a degree, to get a job, and it still feels like I'm getting nowhere. It's frustrating when you're doing everything right and it doesn't seem to matter. I feel like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to push people like me further down, no matter how much we try to climb. And the pressure. The pressure gets to me at night. Lying in bed, my mind racing through all the numbers, calculating if I can make it through another week. It's a constant reminder that I don't have any room to breathe. That there's no safety net. No cushion. If something goes wrong, I fall. Hard. I don't even know who I can turn to. My parents? They're struggling too, in their own way. And besides, they gave me everything they could. I don't want to burden them more. My friends? They have their own problems, their own futures to worry about. So I keep it all inside, and it makes me feel smaller, like I'm invisible. The worst part, though, is that I don't even know where I'm going anymore. The dreams I had for myself, they don't feel possible right now. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. But how can I do any of that when I can't even afford to replace my broken laptop? When I'm constantly counting every dollar I spend? I've had to push those dreams further and further away, telling myself maybe someday, when things get better. But deep down, I'm not sure they ever will. I think about my future. I think about my life in 10 years, and I don't know what it will look like. Will I be in the same place, still trying to make ends meet? Will I ever have a job that actually feels like it's worth the effort? Or will I just keep falling behind, unable to catch up? I can't shake the feeling that I'm being left behind by a system that's getting more expensive every day. It feels like there's no way out. Like I'm on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast I run, I'll never get ahead. But there are days when I hold on to hope, however small. Days when I remind myself that I'm still here. That I'm still fighting. And maybe that's all I can do right now, just keep going. Keep finding ways to make it through the day. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but maybe tomorrow will be different. Maybe one day, I'll get to live the life I've always imagined. Maybe, just maybe, there's a way out of this. But for now, I'm just trying to survive. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.